Yesterday was a sad and happy day. Yesterday, I lost my grandfather. He was 102. He had a great life, fulfilled, and he passed away from old age in his sleep. And it threw me off. Started my day and went to the gym, exercised, meditation. And then I got a phone call from my mom. It was tough to hear her voice. She'd obviously found out hours before and been crying. But then I realized the stories started to come back. And the lessons that I learned from my grandfather, he was a doctor, a surgeon. He practiced way beyond what normal people do past 65. But he was all about service. He spent many years in Japan, grew up in Japan, was a missionary doctor, studied and took his medical boards in Japanese, a kid who moved from California. And his life was all about service. And what I do now with Work Happy is the same thing. I think that's where I got it from my grandpa Richard, and then through my own parents as well. But I remember some of the things that he taught me. I remember going to Magic Mountain every year. I think it was every year. We got to go down and visit Grandma and Grandpa, and we got to have Fruit Loops for breakfast, and we got to go to Toys R Us. That's how old I am. Toys R Us is still around. And we would go down and we go to the store, and we got to pick one toy that Grandpa and Grandma would buy for us, and we'd play with it. And I just remember the act of giving gifts and making people happy from them. One time we went to Magic Mountain down in California. It was my grandfather and I. We got there early, and I think it was called the Matterhorn. It's the world's largest wooden roller coaster at the time. And so we got in the gate. We ran as fast as we could over the Matterhorn. We got there, and there was nobody in line. So we sat in the front car, did the ride, which we'd done many, many times before, came back around the loop, and the guy said, "You guys want to go again? Nobody's here yet." So we went 6 times, my grandpa and I. And I know he thought it probably was just like, oh man, what's this kid doing? Why am I doing this? But that's a memory that I'll have until I die, how he was all about service. He was about making people happy. He was about giving back. He taught me a valuable lesson on owning up to my mistakes. I love golf. Loved golf back then. Used to go at a public course where they lived down in Corona, California. And the course kind of weaved in between some roads and whatnot. And we thought we were really cool because we didn't have a driver's license, but we were allowed to drive the cart. And I was in the backyard at their house practicing chipping, and I shanked a shot and it smashed one of the windows. And I remember thinking, well, what am I going to tell him? Like, how did I had done it, but I was trying to come up with a story that would sound more reasonable than I just shot a golf ball into the window. And so I finally just went and told him, I said, "Hey, Grandpa, just want to let you know I'm so sorry. I smashed the window." I said, "Well, it's going to cost some money to fix it." I said, "I know, and I'll work or whatever." And he goes, "Well, how about this? How about we find out how much the window's going to cost? We'll get it replaced. And then you pay half and I'll pay the other half." So again, he was a teacher. He was kind. He was caring, and always giving back. And the other story I remember, when we go on trips, he had this, I don't know what year it was, but it was one of those big Cadillac cars that the size of a boat, drove like a boat. And I remember we were going somewhere, he was driving, and we were going down this long hill, and he put the car in neutral. And I said, "Well, why would you do that?" He said, "Well, I'm saving gas. Always need to be economical and save money where you can." And I still sometimes when I'm driving, I remember that story. So yeah, it was a sad and a happy day. Sad because our family lost a patriarch, someone who cared for others. Again, I keep going back to the service, but it was all about how do I make other people happy? How do I make my world a better place? And it was sad for me. It was sad because I know what my mom, or I feel like I know what my mom's going through. For my grandma, she's 100. They just celebrated their 80th wedding anniversary a couple of weeks ago. But on the flip side, it was happy because I had all these great memories to look back on. And last night, I was talking to a friend of mine, Jim, and he said, Greg, do you ever, when you're having a bad day or not happy, do you ever have this thought that goes through your head like, you know what? I'm grateful that I can have thoughts. And we started talking, and I mentioned that my grandfather had passed. He says, but isn't it cool that you have all these great memories of your grandfather because of what he did and how he lived his life? And he said, if he wasn't like that, and you didn't appreciate him, or you didn't have a relationship, or you guys didn't get along, you may not have that feeling of sadness and missing and the stories and whatnot. I thought that was such a cool idea, that even in life when things don't go right the way we want them, that if we can take time, think about the situation, and be grateful that we're alive, be grateful that we've had relationships with people, grateful for the things that other people have done for us. So there can be, I guess, a sense of happiness even during sadness. And yeah, that's about it. I miss him. He was a great man. Oh, and one last thing about my grandfather. When he went into World War II, he didn't want to bear arms, or potentially take other people's lives. And being a kid from California, growing up there and then moving to Japan and learning Japanese, he was part of the team that was decoding the codes during World War II. And so he told us this story that he was out on a ship with a guy, and one night, and they were intercepting Japanese signals and whatnot. And he said in the middle of the night one night, he got this message, and he went through his transcription or whatever, and he thought that they were saying, we surrender to the U.S. And so he worked it a couple more times, and then he handed it to his buddy and he goes, what do you think this message means? And so his friend or his colleague went through and he goes, yeah, I think they're surrendering. And so they decided that they would wake up the captain, which you typically don't do, I would imagine. Captain, top dog, probably gets to sleep, whatnot, but it was a big deal. So he called up the captain. The captain listened to it. He said, yeah, to me, that's what it sounds like as well, too. So the captain got a hold of somebody who called the White House, and that was the end of World War II. So thank you for listening to my long ramble about my grandfather, Dr. Richard Nelson. He was a great man. I'm going to miss him, but just telling these stories makes me happy and makes me grateful that I did have a relationship with him, and I learned all these wonderful things from a great man. So, miss you, Grandpa. See you again soon.